Hi guys, I hope you're all coping okay in the current situation, and I hope you're enjoying the content on the Drivetribe YouTube channel recently. Clarkson, Hammond and May have been pumping out content, almost too much for us to be able to edit, and well, we're very lucky to be in that situation. We had so many really cool video shoots planned, but obviously with the current situation, they've all been postponed. But it means we're inside watching lots of YouTube content. Now, one video I watched recently that I found really cool was Shmee150's video where he collects an amalgam model of his exact McLaren Senna road car. It was the exact spec, it was an amazing thing, and it got me thinking about my own model car collection. Now, you may have seen the content that we did with James May with my model train, and that passion very much extends into cars. I started totting up how much my model car collection is worth, and maybe slightly embarrassingly, it came to more than my real life road car, the Mondeo ST200. That may sound slightly insane, but let me take you through my model car collection and show you how that's the case. Let's start with this. It doesn't get much better than a Gulf liveried Aston Martin. This is the Aston Martin DBR1-2 LMP1 car, and it competed at Le Mans in 2009, and in this Gulf livery it makes for such a nice model. You may have seen my recent video on the Ginetta Lmp1 car, which is much quicker and much more capable than this just through sheer technological development, but you wouldn't call it a looker. Well, this thing, I would say, is the best looking LMP1 car of all time. It's a Lola chassis, and in there was the 6-litre Aston V12. Now, that 6-litre V12, I've done a video on this one before, is connected to the DBR9 GT1 car's engine, which was then connected to the DB9 V12 in the road car, which was then connected to the Duratec Ford V6 in my Mondeo. So I've got a weird, tenuous connection to this LMP1 car, and I'm so happy I've got it in my collection. It is such a nice model, and a nice little touch is the 007 number. Really, really cool. Now, it wasn't that quick. It got completely blown away by the diesel Audis and Peugeots in 2009, but it makes for a really nice model. This one is made by a company called No-Rev. Next up is a new favourite of mine. It's another No-Rev model, a Porsche Rs Spyder. Now, this was an LMP2 car that at the time was quicker than some of the LMP1 cars. So my nerd brain means this is instantly so cool. Trust Porsche to take their engineering to a completely different level. The famous car is the DHL yellow liveried car, but I've gone for the looker, this purple and white livery from the Van Merkstein team. Apologies if I've completely mispronounced that name. And the neatest aspect of this car, like the Aston, is its engine. Yes, it had crazy downforce due to its quite neat aero, but in there was a 3.4 litre naturally aspirated V8 that was later bored out and developed into the 4.6 litre engine that was used in the Porsche 918 Spyder hypercar. Now, this car has somehow now become eligible for historic racing, so if I had the money and I wanted to go to Silverstone Classic, Le Mans Classic, I would definitely buy one of these and enter, because you're instantly going to be quicker than just about anything else there. Being an LMP2 car, it doesn't have that big a rear wing or that big a diffuser, all held down by the regulations, but it seems at the front, you've got this huge front lip, and then two massive front canards to keep that front axle down. I bet this properly sticks in the corners. And from a model perspective, the colours are great, and it's just a very simple design. There's nothing incredibly pretty about prototypes in general, but there's something about this white and purple and the design of the RS Spyder which just makes it a really nice model. I really like this one. Now we're taking a leap back a couple of decades to probably my favourite era of racing, Group C, and this is a Peugeot 905, and it's got that lovely bubble cockpit, and then look at the rear wing on it. Compare that to the rear wing on the LMP1 and P2 car just before. It's basically the height of the entire car. Absolutely amazing piece of kit. This shows what happens when there's no regulation and you're just allowed to create as much downforce as possible. It's got this lovely intake into that V10 engine. Now, I've seen two of these things racing against each other at the Le Mans Classic, and the sound of that 3.5 litre V10 in the back is absolutely phenomenal, and that engine was actually then used in the McLaren Mp4-10 F1 car. Now, they won outright at Le Mans with this car in 92 and 93, and when I think about Peugeot Motorsport, I don't think about their famous rally cars, I think about one of these. It's a really simple livery as well. You've got these nice simple Peugeot colours. Actually, if you go on Sean Bull's Instagram, you'll see he did a render of an F1 car using the 905 livery with those stripes. Absolutely amazing. I love these. They were one of the quickest racing cars in the world at the time, and it was a V10. You cannot go wrong with a V10. Then comes my slight obsession with racing Jaguars. Now, this is the HPI Racing Le Mans triple set from 1988. So Jaguar won Le Mans in 88, and these were the three cars that crossed the finish line. Now, for you guys that know your Le Mans history, you'll know the iconic image of these three cars crossing the line all in single file, because the leading car, car number 2, its gearbox had broken. It was stuck in 4th gear, and the other two cars lined up behind it, quite literally shunt it across the line if it broke down. Now, they thankfully didn't need to, but it's an iconic image, and these are the three cars that did it. It's an incredibly detailed model in 1:43 scale, which is obviously much smaller than the other cars, the 1:18s, and they're in the iconic silk cut liveries, and two of them, the two non-winners, have got their engine covers off, and the detail is amazing. You can see the little V12 engines, you can see heat shields, the exhausts, the gearbox, the axles. They're amazing little models, and I'm very precious about them, hence why they're all still in their box. But I'm nowhere near as precious with this as I am with the next three models. Now, these guys are probably the most rare and precious models that I have. There's two of them, and I'll explain why in a second. They're so rare that I haven't even taken them out of the box, and they're so detailed and so intricate that I really need to keep them safe. But for you guys, I'm going to open them up and show you. You get plenty of silk cut Jaguars in 1:43 form, which is what we just saw, but you get very, very few in 1:18. I don't know why. They're very iconic racing cars, but for some reason it's very difficult to find 1:18 size of these amazing pieces of kit. Now, I bought these a couple of years ago, and it's fair to say they were very, very expensive, which is why, because of their rarity and because of how much they're worth, I've kept them in their packaging and done nothing with them since. Give me a chance to take the covers off. It's going to be very stressful for me, but we'll get them all off, get them opened up, and I'll show you what these cars are all about. Oh, this is stressing me out so much. My OCD is going a bit mental. This feels very, very wrong. So, here they are. I feel like I needed museum keeper's gloves for doing that. Okay. You guys might think I'm freaking out over nothing, but they mean a lot to me, so bear with. I'm okay. These are not Xjr-9s, these are Xjr-11s. Jag and Tom Walkinshaw Racing had been using the 7-litre V12, which led them to their first Le Mans win in 1988. But to keep up with the times and to keep up with the technology that Nissan and Sauber and Porsche were using, they went turbocharged. So you went Xjr-9, and then the Xjr-10 and Xjr-11, which is what these are, were turbocharged. Now, the way to see whether a silk cut Jag is turbocharged or a V12, you look at the engine cover. If you see these intakes on the side, and also the fact that there isn't a big larger intake at the top that you'll see on the V12 cars, you can tell it's a turbocharged Jag. They had 3.5 litre twin turbo V6 engines that could really be turned up. The V12 Jags had about 700 horsepower at the top end. These guys could be turned up 800 and above. So I don't really know why, but someone decided to make a run of 25 1-18 Jaguar Xjr-11s, and I have 2 out of that 25. I've got one here, 1990 Suzuka, and the other one here is 1989 Nurburgring. This one being Martin Brundle's car, and this one being Jan Lammer's. They are absolutely stunning, and the detail is quite startling. All the little rivets, the interiors are amazing. I've got a fascination with models that have as intricate an aerial as these ones do. I always feel as a kid, when you have a toy, those are the first things to break off, so I'm, I guess, overly sensitive with keeping them as pristine as possible. Got these massive rear wings, the diffusers around the back. Now, because they're one of 25, they are quite pricey, but at the time I felt like it was worth the investment. These are very much collector's items, they are not toys, so I'm very proud of them, and at some point I will have a display case, which means I can get them out and show them in this form. That is, as you can see by taking off all the wrappers, the first time I've actually looked at them in this state. They are wonderful pieces of kit. Some cars in my collection are more detailed than this, some cars are prettier, but the combination of workmanship, the liveries, and the detail in these cars puts them top of the heap for me. I think they're absolutely fantastic, and the sooner I get them back in their boxes, the better. So on to the next one. These are rare, but so very much is the next car. If I was to make a mistake and drop this box on top of that little aerial, I would be absolutely gutted. So, okay, I'm very glad that's over. So those Group C Jaguars were rare, and so is this. Again, incredibly precious and rare, so this one hasn't even been out of the polystyrene, so I'm doing this for you guys. There's its tiny little aerial. It's one that you need to basically finish constructing yourself because of how delicate it is. And then a 1-18 Jaguar Xjr-9. So this is the car that everyone wants, but for some reason not too many model companies make them, which means they're rare, which means they can charge loads, but that means they put some real effort into making them incredibly detailed. So I know that the engine cover comes off. Okay. My heart is racing right now. This is what a Group C Jaguar Xjr-9 looks like without the rear wing on it. Now, what's very special about this one is, you may have noticed, there's no silk cut livery on it. That is because back in the day, when you wanted to test a car as a prototype, you know, nowadays you just put a camouflage livery on it so that people couldn't see certain things you're working on, certain bits of aero. But back in the day, in the 80s, they didn't have camouflage liveries like that. So what they did do was paint the cars in as dark a colour as they could to disguise certain things they were working on, certain bits of aero trickery that they didn't want the other teams looking at. So the two colours were either very, very dark green or black, and this is basically what looks more like a sort of British racing green Jaguar Xjr-9. So what makes this model so rare is it's not even a 1-18 Xjr-9 in the classic silk cut livery, it's the prototype Jaguar Xjr-9. So it's as nerdy as it gets, and you need to construct it yourself. So this is the low downforce rear wing. It's got a very small profile on it, and it was used to reduce drag but also create a small amount of downforce for Le Mans so you could hit that 240 mph top speed. Once I'm happy with that, I would glue it in place, but not for now. And then inside here, if you thought the 1 to 43 triple set with the engine covers off were detailed, this is next level. I guess simply because it's blown up to a 1 to 18 size. So in there is the 7 litre naturally aspirated Jaguar V12 that powered the Xjr-9 to that Le Mans win in 1988. It is stunning. It's got all the right... So I've seen an Xjr-9 in real life, I've seen under the covers, and everything is colour coded correctly. You've got blue oil lines, you've got little pressure nibs here and there that are all perfectly coloured. And inside you can see that they've done like a carbon fibre effect on the interior, because it's a carbon fibre monocoque chassis with the engine just bolted onto it. Now this car is made by a company called Exotto. I think they're Italian, and they make some of the nicest models in the business. So if you have your absolute favourite car and you want to get the most stunning model within, you know, not too crazy a price range, Exotto are the guys to go for. The whole point in this rear wing, you can see, is that it basically acted as a long tail. Porsche would make the 956 or the 962 Group C long tail car, extending the bodywork out to achieve that top speed. But Jaguar didn't want to do that because they thought it affected handling, having all that mass out the back there. So instead, they kept it essentially short tail or sprint bodywork, but made the rear wing a certain profile and kept it exactly on the same plane as the bodywork, so it acted like a long tail. You could say that the car is actually that length instead of this length, aerodynamically speaking. And that meant this car could go on to 240 miles an hour and beat the Porsches. It's one of the greatest British racing cars of all time, in my opinion, and this is in its most rare model form. I absolutely love it. So yeah, my plan is to get a proper display case for especially the 1 to 18 cars. I'm very precious about them, and I don't want to be. I want to be able to have them out and be able to see them, but it's just so easy for models like this to break. I mean, that rear wing, even when glued in place, you'd just be cleaning your room and then boom, you've broken what is a very nice and quite valuable model. So the plan is to get a really nice display case so that I can have these cars out, and anyone that comes to visit me, which is no one, would be able to come and see the cars and basically see what I'm passionate about. So this, the Xjr-11s, it's a shame that they're stuck in their boxes, and I do want to get them out, but I need to protect them until that day comes. Now I need that display case because these cars, they can't be seen as toys. They're far too intricate and far too detailed and far too valuable to be rolling along a desk or letting a kid use it, sadly. I may sound like a bit of a nerd for saying that, but they are just next level to most other models. If you have a favourite car and you want to get a really, really nice quality model of it, I think you should go on the Exotto website and see what they've got, because this is just stunning. The final car is a bit more mainstream. We started with a Golf livery, so I thought we'd end with one, the Porsche 917K. As far as motorsport death traps go, this is about as crazy as they got. 240 miles an hour, your feet were in front of the steering rack, so your ankles were the crumple zone, and you had very, very basic aero. But that simple aerodynamic form makes it such a stunning side profile. The whole car is so pretty, and I could not have one in my collection. It is the most iconic car in the most iconic livery, and it just doesn't get much better than that. So I'm lucky enough to own a real car, a Mondeo ST200, and that is worth around £900. But when you tot up all of these and the Jags I've just showed you, they come to £1,315. Now you may see that as a slightly embarrassing thing, but for me, these cars are just another side of being a car guy. Yes, I'm a massive nerd when it comes to car models, but I think so will a lot of other petrol heads. I bet there's loads of you guys who are also into models. Maybe you have an F40, a Carrera GT, or whatever your favourite racing car is, and you have it on a shelf, or on your bedside table, or in your study to aspire to. Maybe one day you will have that car. It keeps you working harder, and yeah, think of the day when you have something like this, or whatever your favourite car is, sitting out on your driveway. You pull those curtains open, and there is that R8 or 612 or whatever you aspired for sitting in real life on your driveway. My dream is that I open my garage doors and there's a 905, an RS Spyder, and maybe a Group C Jag, all sitting in single file, all ready to race. I'm many tens of millions of pounds away from doing that, but you got to aspire towards something, I guess. Now, I know Shmee150 is a model guy, but he takes things to a whole new level. He makes sure that he has a 1/18 model of every single one of his real cars, which makes for one hell of a collection. But I think that we can come up with a Drive Tribe kind of equivalent to that. I want you guys to tell me in the comments below which one of these cars you would like us to create content with. Which one of these in real life form you'd want us to make a video. Tell us which one of my collection here you would most like to see on the channel. I really like the 905 simply because of its engine, but I'm going to leave it to you guys. Are you an LMP1 guy, LMP2, Group C, 70s Le Mans, a Jag man? Tell me in the comments below, and we'll do our best after this coronavirus situation is over to make it happen. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to Drive Tribe.